how Nalanda transcended religious and cultural boundaries to become a learning center for the world.
Those who entered Nalanda, they entered to seek enlightenment. All the major universities, if you see the Oxford and Cambridge, or all the madrasas in Central Asia, they borrow the same architectural plan from Nalanda.
What lessons do we draw from the Hanuman Chalisa?
Hanuman is a very multi-layered personality. He is not as simple as he looks. And he's an ideal diplomat, a matchmaker. He is bringing the two powerful people who have needs, and he does bring them together.
Good morning to you all. Welcome to another edition of the ILM Samvad series, the multidisciplinary talk platform organized by ILM University Greater Noida. I've had on this platform the chance to interact with many academics, many industry leaders, journalists, but today we have a serving diplomat as well as a poet, so it's unprecedented and it's pretty unique. So needless to say, I had a difficult Monday morning to deal with. So without further ado, I would just like to welcome Ambassador Abhay, who is a serving ambassador to Georgia, and he has translated many notable Indian works into a language which is palatable to many of us. His most recent being the Hanuman Chalisa. Nalanda is his most noteworthy work, which has been a bestseller in India. But today we are going to focus on a talk which covers three very important aspects of our life: faith, focus, and service. Timeless lessons for an ever-changing world. So welcome, Mr. Abhay.
Thank you so much.
I'm delighted to have you. So I was reading your work, Earth Anthem, and in that you present a very unified vision of the world. I can see that the traditional structures of faith are weakening globally. And something that, which is more, faith is more related today to religious doctrine, particularly in India, and nobody wants to explore it beyond that. How is it that you look at faith?
Well, my faith is in the planet, and that's why I wrote the Earth Anthem. As you see, if you see very clearly, without any indoctrination or dogmas, in our world, only two entities are organically, independent. One is the planet, and another is the individual. Rest, all is man-made, So you see, there is a direct relationship between the planet and the individual. Individuals make families, families make villages, villages make districts, and district makes states, and states make nations, So, and then, but they are all man-made. The boundaries are man-made. But organically, something that independently exists, whether humans inhabit this planet or not, planet is a reality. It had existed before us, and it will exist after us. Therefore, I think we must have faith in the planet. Something which is there as a very solid, symbol, something which unites us all. And that's why I thought that, if we have to write an anthem, sing praises, it should be to the planet Earth, to Mother Earth.
I think that's a fascinating epistemological position that you have. And in India, I think we have, in Hinduism, always the planet and Prakriti has always been an integral part of everything that we did.
Right.
Yes, and you're very right that this is more evident today in the villages than in the cities, perhaps.
Right.
That brings me to the other question, considering the contemporary reality of our society. In the book Nalanda, right, you explain how Nalanda transcended religious and cultural boundaries to become a learning center for the world, epicenter of universal knowledge.
Right. So you see, like a very, very beautiful transition here from the philosophy of, or ancient Indian philosophy, I would say. I think only philosophy that unites us all, that is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. I think the thought itself, of the whole world or the whole earth. Actually, Vasudha means earth. Actually,
Yes.
so the whole earth being one family, that itself is something very noble. And Nalanda, for example, enacted that vision. Nalanda not only pioneered higher education in India, but in fact across the known world. So Nalanda stood for universalism.
Yes.
There were teachers who came from all across the world. There were students, more than 10,000 students studied there. They were not only from India or Asia, but the whole known world of that time. And Nalanda, in fact, pioneered this idea with its universal admission policy, in the sense that at the entrance, at the gate of Nalanda, there was a Dwarpala Pandit, and you could go there and engage with that Dwarpala Pandit in debate and discussion. And if you were able to engage with him, you would enter the university. So the success rate was only 20% to 20 to 30%.
Wow.
But it was universal, in the sense it was not that only princes could enter Nalanda, or only certain people from certain backgrounds, certain class or caste can enter. So Nalanda had a universal admission policy. It also had the universal number of subjects being taught there.
Okay.
So it was not just that Nalanda would teach Buddhism because it was a Mahayana Buddhist institution, but it would teach all the other philosophies of Buddhism, of Hinduism, of that time known as Brahmanism.
But then I just want to build on this point. So how did it manage that spiritual conviction with this kind of intellectual, pluralism?
Because, those who entered Nalanda, they entered to seek enlightenment. They did not enter the university to seek jobs. So, that goal itself did all the, took care of everything. Because once you are seeking enlightenment, you are seeking knowledge across disciplines. So those students who entered Nalanda, they did not only study Buddhism, but they studied grammar, they studied mathematics, they studied astronomy. And that's where the multidisciplinary, what now NEP is focusing on,
Yes.
it comes from there, comes from Nalanda. So and that's where the idea of a university is born for the first time. If you look, not only that, the architectural plan of a university is born at Nalanda. You see there's a rectangular hall, which is known as courtyard plan. And the architecture is that you have a courtyard, and around the courtyard you have the residences of the students or the monks. And they come from their rooms into the courtyard where all the teaching happens. And this, even today, all the major universities, if you see the classic universities like Oxford and Cambridge, or all the, madrasas in Central Asia, they borrow the same architectural plan from Nalanda. So in a way, Nalanda pioneered the idea of a university, also pioneered the architectural plan of a university. Even if you go today to Delhi University, you will see the same architectural plan if you pay attention.
That is very interesting, actually. I mean, being an academic, I think this is music to my ears. Let's move from faith to focus. Focus amid so much uncertainty, focus amid a distracted world. We are in a multiple crisis, right? So we have recently the COP30, met in Brazil. And active geopolitical conflicts everywhere around the world, an ethical crisis stemming from the developments in AI. How do people like ourselves, how is it that we prioritize and maintain strategic focus so that we don't fall into a paralysis or a trap of despair?
Well, so I think it comes from, we must put planet first. But what are we putting together? We are putting greed first. Each one of us is trying to maximize our, personal gains, while planet becomes the last. So I think that today the biggest challenges our planet faces, or the whole world face is the climate change, environmental pollution, we all know what we are breathing today, and biodiversity loss, and biodiversity loss particularly is irreversible, So I think, and only way we can tackle these problems is taking the timeless lessons from Nalanda. And what are those lessons? The lessons of compassion, the lessons for compassion for other species, other living beings who share the planet with us. The lessons of kindness, the lessons to live within our means. So I think the lessons to resolve conflicts through debate and discussion and not through violence. Violence not only against each other but also violence against nature.
Yes.
So all these things, I think, we already know this, but the greed, the human greed overtakes all.
I would just draw your attention to the unique position that India finds itself in. Obviously, a lot of ancient philosophies that clearly indicate that we looked at this planet inclusively, and we were one of the most pluralistic societies in the world. We are pluralistic today itself. But you are faced with the dilemma of being a growing country and taking care of a large set of population and their aspirations, and at the same time now facing the realization that yes, the finite nature of resources, the climate challenge. How is it that you see policymakers and individuals in the diplomacy profession interact with the global stakeholders to navigate through this?
Well, so for example, diplomats, they have the challenges of bringing together different opinions, where you have the lowest common, agreeable plan being implemented. What happens at multilateral negotiations is that, everybody is pitching in, and what you can agree on, on multilateral platforms is something very minuscule, and therefore the challenge of a diplomat to, there lies the challenge of a diplomat to bring together as many stakeholders as possible and make them, agree to something which is concrete. For example, Paris and
Climate Accord.
So this is, I think, probably today, the greatest challenge is to bring people together. People who have different opinions, different, viewpoints, but to make them to see a common viewpoint in the common interest, common interest of the planet.
Let's come to the third part of the talk today, service, and that brings me to your recent work on translation of the Hanuman Chalisa. I think Hanumanji is that is the embodiment of service, right? At least for us Indians. I once read Devdutt Patnaik, and he very nicely puts it that Ram helped him expand, and then that he saw Devdutt Patnaik sees the kind of dedication and capabilities and the capacity to expand and remain focused in Hanuman, even more so than in Arjuna with the Mahabharata.
Right.
I just want to understand the whole nature of service today as we see it in the contemporary world, and what lessons do we draw from the Hanuman Chalisa?
Well, in the same way as in Gita, karmanyevadikaraste, what is action, that's service, you have only the right to service, and you don't know the fruits, what's going to be there. So, in the same way, Hanuman, if you look at Hanuman, he is, he has forgotten many of his capabilities, and then he's reminded, of his capabilities. But Hanuman is also, someone who is leading from the back, in the sense that, when he first sees Ram in Kiskindha looking, searching for his wife Sita, he senses an opportunity, as a diplomat, and he sees that if he can bring Ram and Sugriv, who has been banished from his kingdom by his brother, if he can bring them together, Ram can help Sugriv probably to gain back his kingdom, while Sugriv can help Ram to find his wife. and he's an ideal diplomat, a matchmaker. He's bringing the two powerful people,
Yes.
who have needs, and he does bring them together. He's also, so it's a service, but it's a service with vision. And then when he goes to Lanka, when he is sent to Lanka, he convinces Bibhishan to not to take the side of Ravan, his brother, but to take the side of Ram. So probably he could become the future king of Lanka.
Absolutely.
So you see, I mean, Hanuman is a very multi-layered personality. He's not as simple as he looks.
Yes, absolutely. I think he's got a lot of depth, and and I'm sure your work sort of uncovers those layers for us. Just more of a personal question is that when we see Hanuman today, right? He's mainly viewed as a religious personality. How is it that the world views it? For example, I remember reading Rajiv Malhotra, and he says, that every Indian should do Purva Paksha. We have stopped doing this Purva Paksha, right? And so how is it that the world views these texts? So Hanuman Chalisa less so probably because the Gita and the Ramayana and Mahabharata takes more attention. How is it?
Well, so Hanuman transcends actually the religious boundaries. In fact, if you see, Hanuman is actually present in many countries. You would be surprised to know that Andaman Islands, actually the name comes from Hanuman.
Is it?
Because Hanuman is, by Malay sailors, in ancient days, Hanuman was known as Handuman. And in Indonesia, Hanuman is known as Anuman, while in Thailand he is known as Anuman. So Handuman becomes Anduman and then Andaman, and you also have, like, for example, the figures like Barack Obama, carrying an image of Thai Hanuman in his pocket.
Yeah.
You have the Imams of Lucknow, making starting Bada Mangal festival, for Hanuman. So in a way, Hanuman transcends religious boundaries as well and cultural boundaries. In fact, Hanuman is also, you have Sun Wukong in China, and you have also Hanuman-like figure in Japan.
Yes.
Being worshipped in Japan. So in a way, Hanuman transcends the geographical boundaries as well as cultural boundaries and religious boundaries.
Are we doing enough? Because there's clearly, India uses its soft powers in these domains, and these texts, particularly your work now, contributes a lot to this soft power. Are we reconnecting with these societies? You mentioned, we have presence of our past in Cambodia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand of today, Myanmar. Are we doing enough to keep those traditions and those thoughts alive in Lush people today?
Very much. I mean, we are, part of the re-establishment of Nalanda University, the new university. If you see, it's an East Asia Summit process, where not only India but 17 countries from East Asia participated in it. And I think, we are working together. I visited Bali, and if you see Bali, you would be surprised to see, there's a temple, for example, every 300 meters, there's a temple, small temple there. Yes. So, the cultural connections are still alive, Cambodia, for example, or Champa in Vietnam. I think recently Nalanda itself, has become a kind of rallying symbol around which to bring all these countries together.
I think that's so important, and I think Nalanda has lessons for all of us. We being an academic institution, and we were talking this morning about how we can become that intellectual space. Let me bring you to the question now, which sort of comes to service of people today, right? So 234 million students in this country still don't have access to decent education. While at the same time, the G20 reported that wealth concentration is at its historic high. So we clearly have these paradoxes within our society. How is it that those with privilege and opportunity can reframe service to be more meaningful to address this inequality? And do the ancient texts have some lessons for us?
Well, we can use technology, for example. I was thinking of lessons from Nalanda. Nalanda treated education as a public good. The education none of the students had to pay anything to study at Nalanda. It was paid by the royal, the kings, who supported Nalanda. And the villages, they provided the revenue of the villages they provided to support Nalanda. Nalanda also had the greatest library of the first millennium CE.
Indeed.
And so today, for example, what is actually needed is a digital Dharmaganj, the greatest library of Nalanda, which can be accessible to each and everyone across the country, across the planet, you can say.
Yes.
So we can build education as a public good, not only for us, but for, all the children, Why not? Why to restrict it to only within the country, make it accessible to everyone across the planet.
And the private sector has a big role to play in this as well.
Right.
Brings me to my last question. You're a busy man. I don't want to keep you waiting for too long.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of ILM students enter leadership roles, whether it's in public policy, whether it's in the field of management.
Mm-hmm.
Country is rapidly urbanizing. We are liberalizing economically. We are grappling with identity questions, particularly the young generation. How do we cultivate faith without dogmatism and focus without rigidity and service without self-abandonment in today's time within the current Gen Zs?
Well, I think, Hanuman Chalisa has a great lesson for Gen Z, Hanuman Chalisa, for example, Gen Z faces typical problems, One is the distraction. They cannot focus. So every 30 seconds they're looking at their screens, So that attention span has come down to 30 seconds to 1 minute. So focus, reciting Hanuman Chalisa, for example, has this amazing capability to help one to train one's thought to focus. Also, the second is depression. I think lots of younger Gen Z is going through depression. And reciting Hanuman Chalisa, for example, or any other text, I'm just giving an example of Hanuman Chalisa. It helps you to have lots of positivity, lots of, it takes away negativity. So depression is the result of negativity, which we go through, or overthinking. So think of, Hanuman, think of the Chalisa, the lines one can remember, and I've translated into English so that it could be accessible to Gen Z. Also mindfulness. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is like being present at this moment. Not thinking of the past, of the future. Being in this moment right now. And I think if Hanuman Chalisa has this amazing power to bring this mindfulness in anybody. So I have personally felt it, through, and that's faith, you can say.
Yes.
But also faith in oneself, because of too much of technology, slowly I think human beings are losing faith in themselves, and having faith in AI and in other applications, rushing to Siri or, to Alexa. But having faith in oneself, and that's what also Nalanda teaches us, or Buddha teaches us to, the light. He says, "Apo Deepa Bhava," be your own light. So, I think that's very important. And service, service to be, as Tagore says that, the goal of the life, or the mission of the life is to plant a tree under whose shadow you will never see it.
Yes.
So that's service, service without any expectations.
Selflessness.
Yes. So that, without any expectations, you think that, you are doing your best, but you do not, like right now, what the Gen Z faces is the problem of instant gratification, that I'm doing it now and it should happen immediately, I should be gratified. But that's not the service. Service is to what Tagore says, that you plant a tree and leave it, You may not sit below its shadow, but maybe somebody else would do.
That's fascinating. I think the next time I recite the Hanuman Chalisa, I'm going to have a completely different perspective. Thank you
Thank you.
Abhay for coming and helping us expand our perspective today.
Thank you.
I think that the lessons, whether it is his work on the Nalanda, the Earth Anthem, or the recent Hanuman Chalisa, I think he's opened up a vast well of knowledge for the world, particularly the Gen Zs. If Hindi or Sanskrit is not something that you can easily master, then the text is available to you in English. And this is something which is very accessible. You will certainly find it here at ILM Library, at all of ILM's academic institutions. So with that, I would like to thank you once again. Thank you for sparing your time, and we hope to see you again. And we'll take forward our vision of making Greater Noida intellectual capital of the country as well. Thank
That's
you.
one of my dreams, to have a Greater Noida International Center right here.
Sure, we will work on that. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.